Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. Many believers have now heard of the Seven Mountains Mandate, or Seven Spheres of Influence, which is a concept first put forth by Bill Bright, founder of Campus Crusade for Christ, and Lauren Cunningham, founder of YWAM, back in 1975. Each of them separately received similar prophetic words from the Lord, which centered on the seven areas of societal influence used to chart the course of our nation. Everywhere we look in today's world, if we're paying attention, we can clearly see how the enemy has pushed one central, demonically inspired message throughout each of these seven mountains. We find Marxist ideology being promoted under the guise of inclusivity and equity. It's in our government, our schools, on social media, in movies and television programming. It's being hyped at sporting events, by our favorite retailers and restaurants. Even some Christian leaders have joined in as unwitting heralds of this demonic campaign to influence how the collective American culture thinks. Because the real cultural battleground is the mind, that's where the enemy focuses his attacks by getting us to believe his lies. In his quest to gain total dominion over an entire nation, he first puts forth a subtle lie, which takes hold in some. Then he expands his false narrative to successive generations until suddenly society fully embraces his lies as truth. The old adage, which says tell a lie often enough and it will soon be accepted as true, is precisely what we currently see happening in America. And yet, whether we choose to believe it or not, we are at war over which spiritual philosophy controls this nation and ultimately our lives. To see God's hand of intervention save us, it is vitally important for us as believers to partner in prayer with the Lord's directives so that the enemy's plan is stopped. In the word I'm about to share, the Lord tells us how to do just that, so we can effectively influence those seven mountains and begin reclaiming the spiritual high ground over America. Here's what I heard. It's time for the defenders of this republic, those who do not think liberty to be a trivial matter, to rise up and make a stand. For surely there are a few of these good men and women left upon these shores, those who will ardently fight against the usurpation of their constitutional rights. See then, those who have the ability to do so must not ignore this rallying cry, lest the tyrannical ideology which has overtaken your federal government further spreads, where states, which were once profusely red, suddenly turn a deep shade of blue. For many who once claimed patriotism to this nation will have instead accepted the progressive views of the state, that form of governance which stridently opposes individual freedoms. So while some might believe that scenario would never happen in America, these have apparently paid little attention to the world's history, as every nation that has allowed this heretical dogma the room to advance has eventually become a wasteland of humanistic beliefs. Surely the majority in those regions forgot the name of my son, and so many generations passed before a resurgence of the truth began to manifest again within their people. Ah, then, is not America already headed down this same path? For though as of now a minority, still these Marxists are strategically placed throughout this nation in such a way that their radical agenda has infiltrated each mountain of influence. As such, is their anti-American message now being echoed within every echelon of this society. For even amongst the modern-day church have some of these secularist ideas been embraced. It would then appear that it is not enough to simply disagree with those who espouse Marxism. Deliberate action must be taken to prevent America from being fully engulfed in this socio-political and economic philosophy, which purportedly promotes equity among the masses, but in reality, the state rules the people, who eventually lose the right to have any say in the running of their own country. then an intentional campaign must be launched against each mountain of influence standing in America, meaning those cultural spheres which have been used to shape the mindset of her people. However, recently, this subtle form of indoctrination employed over the decades has become more aggressive. For the real enemy of this nation, he who dwells in the unseen, has ramped up his attack and is thereby quickly moving forward with his plan to seize greater dominion of this land. Let my lines assemble then and advance towards these 7 mountains with the intent of driving out that dark force connected to Marxism, where my warriors apply a steady stream of warfare upon each of these targets. For to reclaim these high places for me can only be accomplished if the spiritual battleground is dealt with first. Do not delay, but seize the day, and charge in upon this enemy-occupied ground, aiming your warfare at the very peaks of these man-made structures. Then declare in my name that these high positions of demonic power are brought down low. Hold your ground and do not give up until I have declared the victory has been won. Pray then against the lie of victimhood, which is at the root of this Marxist rhetoric. Ask that this falsity is fully exposed, and that those who have agreed with its sentiments are broken free from its hold. Contend then against the entitled attitude this Marxist propaganda has incited, for surely has covetousness and greed overtaken the hearts of many. Pray then against this vain ideology, which focuses on disparagement and demands that some are entitled to that which they did not earn. Listen to this rally cry, dear ones, and take seriously its charge. For without the continuing warfare of my warriors, surely would the enemy's lines be further advanced. Therefore press in without relenting, and you will soon see in the physical realm this enemy's stronghold topple over. Thanks again for joining me today.